The COYGIG Pod on Off the Ball in association with Cadbury, official snack partner of the Republic of Ireland women's national team.
Katie McCabe, a huge goal.
I'm very proud of the team's performance.
We're going to go out there to beat them. We're going to try and beat them.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the COYGIG podcast. We are coming to you live from the Off the Ball studios this week, which is very exciting, which means we have a one and only Karen Duggan in here, which is very nice. Karen, second time in here for COYGIG, I think it might be.
I'm looking forward to receiving my travel expenses all the way from the north side.
Yeah, those bicycle gas fuel fees are really, really high these days. And joining us on the line, we also have Jamie Finn. Jamie, how are we?
Good, thanks. How are you? How are you, Karen? How's the leg?
It's still attached, so I'm grand.
Good.
Plow on.
Good.
Yes, there were some great photos of you in the crowd at the weekend, Jamie and Karen. Some concern from us around the pod that you were all right. As Jamie said, everything feeling okay?
Sure, nothing is broken, so it'll be grand. I don't have time to be injured, to be honest, so it's fine. That's fine.
Plow on.
Do you know the multiple things that you do with your life outside of this podcast? Other podcasts being the most important. Jamie, how did you find the experience at the weekend? I'm not going to ask Karen that question because I feel like you might have the happier answer.
Yeah, to be fair, I enjoyed the game. I think, to be fair to Pima, I think he came out really well, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a really good game here. A few good tackles as well, but I think, yeah, I don't know, kind of momentum just shifting to Shells, and Alex got that free kick. I mean, it was a really nicely hit free kick, and then Kate getting the goal before half-time kind of just maybe killed it a little bit. But yeah, I was happy enough with the result.
Yeah, to be fair, I think it was kind of reflective of the season we've had. Like, we had good patches, but just ruthlessness in both areas of the pitch. Like, when you're in the ascendancy, you have to make it count, and we didn't. And then obviously a team with the quality that Shelburne have gave away a free kick, not quite at the edge of the box. It was a bit further out, and Alex Kavanagh stuck a top corner. Like, it was the perfect free kick. And then, like you say, just a hammer blow before half-time, last kick of the game before half-time. And, you know, just something we've struggled with is coming back from behind this season. So yeah, it was I think reflective of both of our seasons. I think Shells showed their class, and we just struggled in that, you know, both boxes. Play some nice football, but at the end of the day, it's a results game, and you have to be ruthless, and that's what the best teams are.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, the result didn't actually matter for either side as well. Not to put too fine a point on it, having Athlone winning the title this year with still a game to go. They've reached the stage at the table where no one can catch them, and there were some great scenes from their game. And I know the two of you, coming from teams who have been the traditional ones who win it, might feel differently, but it is good to see someone else coming into the competition, creating that bit of competitiveness, bringing that interest to the league as well outside of Dublin, and showing that if you are a team outside of Dublin, you can win the league and you can have this sort of success and have it resoundingly so as well.
Yeah, I think what Athlone have done is now, as well as being a brilliant team, like the best team always wins the league. I'm a firm believer in that, but they're kind of like the blueprint of how to grow a team. I mean, I think Laurie Ryan said they had some tough results at the start, but they did some really solid recruiting. Were very inventive in that way, brought in Kieran Kilduff, and like that just added a new energy to the place. So you're taking the likes of Sligo now, have maybe had a difficult season. They can look to what Athlone have built over the last 5 years. We've got Waterford coming into the league next year, brand new team. So it's going to be difficult for them to recruit, but you have to find ways to become inventive and to compete, because, like we say, the league is amateur. The turnover of players is getting bigger and bigger every year because of the opportunities to go abroad. And obviously there's issues here in the league where some people are getting paid not on contracts, some people are on contracts, and there's just a disparity amongst the clubs that will have to be bridged at some point. But yeah, I think what Athlone have done is a massive credit to the club as a whole, that they've taken the interest and didn't let it wane off after those first couple of difficult years.
Yeah, like Jamie, you look at their record this season, you know, 19 games, 15 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses in the league. It's not a bad record by any stretch of the imagination, but also it hasn't been a totally smooth sailing season for them. You know, they lost players to injuries, they lost players to going over to England, they had to try and regroup, bring more people in. For you, what is it that has been so impressive about them this season?
Yeah, I firstly would agree with what Karen said. I think the best team always wins the league, and I think they've clearly gotten the right coaching. And they came up against their obstacles, like as you said, losing players to injury to England, but they obviously came through that with the coaching staff they have there. And I think players want to go to a club that is winning, and they won the league this year, and that will massively attract players from Dublin, from outside of Dublin as well, to go and play for Athlone. So yeah, massive congratulations to them.
What has been the growth for them over the last couple of seasons? Because, you know, they haven't been competing at the senior level as long. They didn't do too great the first couple of seasons, and then they challenged, I think it was 22 when they first kind of properly burst onto that league scene in terms of competing with the top three. What has been that growth in the last 4-ish years?
Well, look, they went back to basics. They recruited girls who were willing to work hard. They became very difficult to play against, and then they went on cup runs. It used to be kind of Wexford's title that they were the cup team. I think Athlone kind of took that over in the past couple of years, and you know that sparked interest around, especially when Galway weren't at the levels that they are this year. So they were clever in who they recruited and where they recruited from. The likes of Chloe Singleton has been a massive addition, and then obviously you've got the addition of the non-Irish national girls. Like Dana Sheriff was massive for them last year. Again, went on a really good run the cup. You got Maddie Gibson, who's probably in line to definitely be talked about as player of the year. You know, she's come over as well, and she's made her mark over the last couple of years. And likewise Brenda, exactly when they needed a goal scorer to come in, and she came in and did the job and kind of just saw out the league for them. So I don't know who's in charge of their recruitment down there, but they should be getting a free bar, I'd say, for the rest of the year, because it's been absolutely unbelievable, the players that they've picked out and have managed to gel together, because they just work so hard. They're just a really, really hard working team. They're fit, they're direct. What you see is what you get with them. You know what you're up against, but it's very hard to defend against, especially down there in Athlone, that big AstroTurf pitch. They know how to play
that
the
you
game.
love to go play on. Love it so much.
So much. It's so peaceful down there. It's a great time.
And then for Kilduff, because obviously Tommy Hewitt was in there before, we've seen that Sligo Rovers have decided to part ways with him, or they've decided together to part ways with a couple of games left in this season. What was it that Kilduff in particular, in terms of style of play, that you saw that he brought? Like, was it just going back to that basics and working hard, or was that kind of set there by Tommy and then...
Yeah, I think they had the basics there of being able to defend and be hard to break down. I think what he's brought is just a pace and an energy, playing to their strengths, just getting the balls in the box very quickly, taking players on. I think that they just have a nice balance amongst everything. It doesn't seem to be about the individual. Don't get me wrong, they've got class talent, but it's about the collective down there, and they're very good at using their bench, bringing that energy in when they need it, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. Sometimes it just takes something small to change what was already there. I mean, Tommy obviously built the foundations, and Kieran, I'm sure he was in demand. I think he's a highly regarded coach, so for him to choose Athlone, he must have seen something in them as well, and obviously it's been a really, really good matchup, and 2 trophies in 2 years for him, you know, so he's
and potential of another one in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, his reputation is going from strength to strength, and maybe it'll encourage more coaches to come from maybe the men's game and look at the league and see what you can kind of achieve in a short period of time, that it's maybe a little bit easier to build a style of play in the women's game. They're kind of like sponges and stuff, and it would be interesting to see if there is going to be a turnover of new managers coming into the league, and maybe a little bit of a rebirth in that sense.
Yeah, you know what frustrates me a little bit when that conversation comes in is people saying, I don't know where this league title win will rank in his footballing career in terms of what he's already done. And I'm like, you're a manager who've just led a team to a national title. Of course it's going to rank highly. I
just think they're two completely separate things. I can't imagine the buzz I would get from management would be like what you get from playing. Like it's a silly question, I think. silly.
I don't know, Karen. I can see you getting very, very invested in the management side of things.
No. No, definitely not. I'm sure you put in the amount of time and the investment, but they're two completely different games, two completely different leagues. It's like,
I think you'd feel differently about them, but I think there'd be
even when people ask me what the highlight of my sporting career is, and I always say when we won the intermediate All-Ireland at Camogie, but like the feeling we had last year coming against the odds with Peamount winning the league, like it was amazing, it was unbelievable, but they're not comparable. They were just completely different codes. Like, you know, one is like the parish, you know, and the other is like football, which has been like my identity for I don't know how long. So like even in that sense, it's hard to pick something like that. And he has to say, no, this is up there, because what's he going to say? Nah, it's all right. Like,
don't really care at all. Jamie, how do Shells reflect on this season? So close, yet not quite there.
Yeah, I think, like I've said this before, being in that Shells dressing room, the standard of what they want is really high, and I think that's what you need in this league. You want to set the standards of where you want to be, and knowing all the older girls, they'll be disappointed that they didn't win the league this season. But on the other hand, they have a cup final to look forward to, and I think for them, they'll be hungry to come out and win that. Obviously, Athlone have won the league, and I think it's going to be sort of difficult for them. It's such a high winning league, and you'll be celebrating, and you kind of have to come down to earth fairly quickly to get back into training. And if you want to win the cup then against Shells, in what is it, next week, the 20th? Is it?
Yeah, not this weekend, the weekend after.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be difficult for Athlone to come down and back into mode of focus. So I think Shelburne will be really, really up for it. Yeah, I think so.
Well, congratulations to Athlone. For now, anyways, we won't take away any of their joy by thinking about the cup final just yet. But congratulations to them. It's a really good achievement. There's a really good interview on Off the Ball with Laurie Ryan after that win at the weekend, so you can get that wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get your COYGIG, on the football stream as well. It should be there. But now we are going to turn our attention to our team of the week from across the water and introduce Emma Carroll into proceedings. Emma, how are we doing?
Not too bad, thanks.
You still have a kind of semi-similar setup to what you do back in the house with the little light going on behind you, although we should have changed that jersey to one of the women's team jerseys that we have around the place.
Yeah.
We love David Myler, but just more for the actual theme of the podcast, of course.
You didn't ask me to bring one. What's the story there?
Sorry, Karen. Where's your jersey?
I have been asking you for a Peabout jersey for
we can't
afford
to give you one. You know this.
I will pay for it. If you source me one, I will happily contribute to the cause. Otherwise, I'm going to end up getting a Shells one from Jamie beforehand.
Take the Shells one.
We get Birmingham on board as well. We get Shamrock Rovers, and then the pressure will really be on you. Emma, do you want to run through your team and then we can have a bit of a discussion around it?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a massive shock on the goalkeeper this week, being Courtney Brosnan. Then we've got a forward the back with Lucy Perry, Megan Finnegan, Alex Greenwood and Leah Alexandri. Hobinger and Cooney Cross in the middle. Nikita Paris, Blanchard, Hemp, and then Rachel Daly up top.
Nikita Paris is having some time of it at the moment. It just goes to show that, maybe she should have left United a little bit earlier and got that opportunity. I mean, I know Brighton are definitely on a different level than we've seen them in the last few seasons, but it's just like watching a new player in a way.
Yeah, they've just made some incredible signings.
Yeah, she like the way she was encouraging like her team around her and kind of rallying players was something I probably didn't see in United. I think she was maybe just putting pressure on herself to play well in United, and I think what's happening at Brighton is very, very exciting, and I think that it's what the club's been crying out for. I think that the manager that's coming in has done an incredible job of bonding a relatively kind of changed squad very quickly. He recruited brilliantly as well, players who have WSL experience, who maybe not being under that Chelsea brand or United brand, the pressure is off them a little bit and they look to be very much enjoying themselves.
And players who were relatively well respected for large parts of their career and experienced a bit of a dip in recent years because maybe in the England setup or whatever it is, people have come in and stepped ahead of them, but still very well respected in the
that's
context of what
testament
their
to
careers
England
are.
and the levels that England are at, that they're producing those types of players now. And there's no shame in not being in the top 18 in that country now, given like the talent that is coming through. But yeah, I thought Paris, and obviously Daly stepped away retirement, but she's shown again why she's one of the best there. And yeah, it was a really good week. It's a really good team. I thought that it's great to see a Crystal Palace player in there. I wasn't sure that we
What a
would,
win.
but
Absolutely
yeah, all
huge
of
for
a
them.
sudden it changes our like approach to how we're going to look at them, because they beat a potential relegation target as well in Leicester. And you picked Blanchard. I thought Potter was excellent for them in midfield as well. And they were well worth their win, so delighted to see that they've got some representation on the team. You got your Liverpool representation in. I thought you could have put 2 in. I thought we didn't. Kopacks just for that goal.
I do. There's 2 in
Oh,
there.
sorry,
Yeah.
who am I? Oh, you
Of
got
Parry and
yeah,
Hobinger. Yeah.
No. Parry. Usually you squeeze in a few more forwards.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, yeah, Hobinger, I've put her into midfield too,
Yeah.
but really she's an attacking midfielder, so
balance.
Yeah. Yeah, Lucy Parry's been fairly impressive in the first few games of the season, so I thought she deserved the spot in the shout out. Yeah, Brosnan again, I think we sang her praises last week, and then
Courtney Brosnan.
2 days later she saves 4 penalties and then keeps a clean sheet, a very busy clean sheet as well against Arsenal. Arsenal, I don't know how they're not scoring, but I'll leave that to Kathleen to break apart.
I mean, if you have any insights, I would love to hear them.
Yeah.
So yeah, you picked Finnegan, Van Havermet, the Everton bricks that were there kind of to stop that onslaught from. Well, if you say onslaught, some of it was a bit tepid, wasn't it? That's the reason.
21 shots, but only 5 on target.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's unusual for us not to see too much Arsenal attacking talent pop up in these teams of the week.
No, it isn't. Jamie, what do you think of the team?
Yeah, I think Courtney's listening to this podcast every week. And that's what's giving her confidence. No, I agree with Courtney being in there. Yeah, Cooney Cross as well as an interesting one. I really like her as a player. I think she's good, direct, and she's also physical, what that Arsenal midfield kind of need a bit. But then she's obviously a young player that wants to prove herself. But then they're obviously leaving out Leah Walty as well. So it's obviously a good thing to have with the amount of games that Arsenal have. So I thought she played really well as well. And then obviously that front line is stacked with goals from the weekend and assists. I think, was it Lauren Hem was the youngest player to score 50 goals?
Yeah, she's
in the
insane.
WSL.
Yeah, and she could have had
3.
In the first half.
She's another level. I think Gorey could be given a shout out
I think
as well for
every
West
week
Ham.
she could. She's really
really good.
so busy in there. She does so much work, but unfortunately West Ham just don't seem to be clicking, so she's probably not getting the praise that she does deserve. But I'd say if you look at the stats on the amount of balls she breaks up, she's definitely on the higher end of the players in the league, and she seems to never run out of energy. But yeah, it's something not quite clicking for West Ham. A little bit of, I suppose, misfortune. They were undone by a bad offside decision, and maybe that changed the complexity of the game. But Man City kind of did show their class, and they probably should have had a few more goals as well. But they also rested players, Man City, because obviously big
game.
big-ish game
Yeah.
happening in the Champions League just against Barcelona. So
I do wonder how they approach a game like that in their heads, because you would say on paper Barcelona have the better team. City have struggled against Spanish sides, particularly in the Champions League in recent seasons, and will have that little bit of a hangover. And we're recording this on a Tuesday evening, so Chelsea are taking on Real Madrid later this evening, and then that City game's on Wednesday, and Arsenal are also playing Bayern Munich on the same evening as well, which it's a little bit triggering after last season's Arsenal games against Bayern Munich on the men's side, I won't lie. But you would assume that their City in particular are going to go into that all guns blazing. They seem to have been able to balance the Champions League run in with the WSL so far a little bit better than Arsenal have. Arsenal have been very peaks and troughs when it comes to it.
Yeah, they have, and Arsenal kind of are sticking with the way that they started. Obviously, you've got Manham and Caldente and Mead and Russo, and I don't know, it's not quite clicking for them. I'm not really sure why, but I don't know, sometimes you need that little bit of directness, and I think Caitlin Ford would be the answer to that. Maybe even Blackstenius earlier, her introduction earlier in the games, and drop Russo a little bit deeper. I don't know what their best combination is there, and I guess that's kind of their problem at the moment.
I think that's kind of what Adabel's saying, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we actually talk about the Everton game. I think he keeps trying to put it off as if he's playing different players at different games because they suit a certain game, but I also just don't think he knows what the style or the game is yet, and as we all know, I'm firmly on that. I think he should go side of things. Emma, in terms of your team, before I go off on a rant about all that, who was the most impressive player out of the weekend? And you can't say Courtney Brosnan.
It was going to be the obvious answer, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, the listeners are going to probably get a little bit tired at some point of us every week being like, we love Courtney.
Never. As long as she keeps this form up, we'll never get sick of it. Nikita Parris probably, getting her first full start and goal and assist, and like Karen was saying, just her leadership to that Brighton team as well. I think she was really impressive.
Yeah, I think she has been one of the standout players of this season in terms of someone who isn't new to the league, who has had a really, really difficult time in recent seasons, just getting her name on a team sheet, never mind making an impression. And it goes to show what changing to a new team, a new manager, maybe a different atmosphere, how much that can actually help you make a mark on the league again. Because, I mean, for a long time she was one of the players that England were talking about as one of their best. So, fair
Champions
play.
League winner,
Yeah.
And as we're recording this and the Champions League is live, I can tell you that Roma is 1-0 up against Wolfsburg. Penal from Giuliano. So, there you go. Little live Champions League update.
At 6:10 on this Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we're at. Sorry, I should have also said,
still and all. So.
I also kind of buried the lead for this evening that Celtic are also playing against Twente. That actually has Irish involvement in it compared to, well, Arsenal obviously has McCabe. But yeah, Saoirse Noonan and Caitlin Hayes involved there. Sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here now, but Saoirse Noonan this season, she's getting in the Ireland squad, Jamie, do you think, potentially?
I mean, yeah, like Saoirse has been doing great now after her move to Celtic. Like, Celtic is such a big club, and to go there and hit the ground running like she has done, I mean, fair play to her. Obviously I know how good of a player Saoirse is. I've played with her at club level, and then obviously international. So yeah, I think hopefully she can keep this form up and potentially see her in an Ireland squad soon.
Yeah, and just on that as well, obviously we have a lot of eyes on Celtic because we're Irish, but Emily Whelan she's scoring goals for Glasgow City as well. So if we're considering the Scottish League as well, I think her name should be in the conversation there as someone who, she might be worth a look. I know she's kind of been in and out, but like I say, goal scorers they're pretty hard to come by. So yeah, there's another name for the pot. So it's good to have selection headaches ahead of a very important window.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we have said this before, but with Georgia being the opponents they are, clearly we want to beat them, but we know what the level we're at is at the moment, and it is an opportunity to maybe give someone a chance to come in who hasn't had a chance in the more recent extremely, extremely difficult games against your England and France's of the world. So looking forward to all our coverage of that coming up very, very soon. Feels like ages since we've had an international window, but actually hasn't been that long. Emma,
on top of us soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always.
Cheers.
Can't wait to see you back again. Okay, now we shall look at the actual games, and you can ask me why Arsenal aren't scoring goals. Might as well start with that one because realistically it had the most impact on the weekend. Jamie, as someone who's played at this level recently, why are Arsenal not scoring goals? Put your ring in the hat put your hat in the ring for Jonas Eidevall's job.
God, yeah, that's a difficult question to answer. I just feel like, I think Karen said it before, like there's a lot of kind of chopping and changing of positions of personnel, and he's kind of come out and said that too. So there's not much. I've said it before, like that it doesn't seem to gel as quickly as your Man City is or Chelsea, and ultimately this comes down to winning games, scoring goals and winning games. If you want to win this league, that's where it is. And yeah, they haven't kind of hit that form since the league has started, really. And to be fair to Everton, like, they needed to come out and at least get a point, and they done that. That's also a difficult task, to go to Arsenal at the Emirates and do that. I mean, we said it about Courtney. She's the difference for Everton, I think, this season. She will be a huge player for them. But yeah, I don't know is the answer. Do you know?
Simply not good enough. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that if anyone plays deep and compact and basically puts a wall up in front of Arsenal and isn't trying to play fast, free-flowing, attacking football, Arsenal just really struggle to break that down. Well, they had 21 chances at the weekend and only got 5 of those on target.
Yeah, if only they had one of the record goal scorer and assist in the WSL playmaker in their ranks at one point and didn't decide to sell her.
Don't know who you're talking about there, Karen. That whole era has been totally wiped from my brain.
Yeah, look, you're kind of looking to Kim Little to kind of like unpick something and find a pocket here, because teams are always going to bank up against a team like Arsenal. They're too good not to. And you have to allow your full-backs forward, and they do that. Emily Fox probably looked the most like scoring at the weekend. Like, I think they're doing well. It's just, it's not the people in the positions that you want. Like, you want Russo to be the one taking shots, but that's not the way it's working out, and that's going to lead to just frustration. And yeah, it's not quite clicking at the moment. I think maybe just be more direct, just keep pumping balls in the box and getting players in there and see what happens. But yeah.
But has that not also been one of Arsenal's problems?
Just blindly crossing the ball.
Yeah, into the box and not getting anything from it.
Yeah, it is. But I suppose it's picking and choosing your moments. I suppose there's no like real recipe for how to produce these brilliant attacking performances against, a wall defence. It's something that teams just struggle with, and you look for someone to produce a moment of magic. And who is that at the moment? I'm not quite sure. They know, like, who's the star girl there at the moment?
To be honest, you're probably looking at like Manham or someone to pop up and get a goal. Like, just looking at the lineup from the weekend, or maybe Beth Mead to have a moment of magic. But it's definitely not Russo. I think she struggled a little bit. Blackstenius is great at times for a brilliant moment, but for her position and what you would expect of her, it's just not consistent.
You're looking for a
enough.
Consistent goal scorer. Yeah, exactly. Who is your consistent goal scorer?
And they're not producing enough goals between everyone else. You could say the same for the men's side, but the difference is they've actually been able to find those goal scorers randomly within the team, and there's enough of them that it keeps you ticking over. And say in a game like this, you're still able to scrape through.
I think that
1-0.
happens when a team is brimming with confidence. I just don't fully get that vibe at the moment.
No, but like, is it a case of switch up the manager? Because you're not going to sign any new players until the January window. And I know Arsenal were in for Ciara Walsh, and maybe she is that exciting player that brings something to the team. But again, it doesn't, to me, seem like the issue they have.
I think it would be, we don't see it that much in the women's game, a change of manager, at this point in the season. I can't see it happening. So they need to find a way to up it until such a point. They give Eideveld the big contract. He obviously has the backing. I know he had strong feelings on that. So he just needs to be put under enough pressure to change things up. Something has to give. We're saying this like they've lost a huge amount of games, but not dissimilar. Like, obviously the levels are different, but not dissimilar to Shells. They drew a game with Sligo very early in the year and drew a game kind of mid-season to Bowes, and it's those kind of results that Athlone didn't have. It's that consistency against the teams that you expect them to be beaten. You expect them to be beaten. Everton, well, they've always beaten Everton. I think this may be Everton's first draw in the top flight with them. And that is the difference between them and Chelsea over the past couple of years, is that ruthlessness.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, is there an argument to be made, considering how few games there are in the league, and Arsenal are now sitting in 6th after 2 draws in the first 3 games, that title is gone in that? Yeah, okay.
No.
Well, like, City and Chelsea could slip up at some stage, which is fair enough. But it is, I love everyone is shaking their heads at me in this room right now. Jamie, just give me your thoughts. I won't continue the question anymore. You know where it's gone.
Listen, I think the beauty with the situation that they're in now is that the games for Arsenal and with the top teams come thick and fast. So they will just look for the next game. I think as a player, that's what you have to do. Like, you can't really get caught up in what people are saying about the team and et cetera, et cetera. Like, they have a game now midweek in the Champions League, and that's where you gel. That's where it comes together. So I think for them, like, that can be an advantage. It also can be a disadvantage if the balancing of the WSL and the Champions League and the cups is not right by the manager and who he plays and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a difficult one.
Basically, what you're all telling me is to calm down, Kathleen. Stop getting hysterical. It's not all gone. It's just a bad patch.
Difficult when you support them, I suppose.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. That's nicer than anything I'm getting from the room right now.
Well, I support Man United and I never get anything nice, so I'm glad the tables have been turned.
I want to go to the other side of the table now, and we kind of briefly mentioned this in the team of the week, but that win for Crystal Palace against Leicester City, see, that was allowed to be massive for the relegation battle, but my result wasn't allowed to be massive. But okay, that besides, it was actually a very big result for Crystal Palace in that they've taken fairly heavy defeats up until this point. I've looked a little bit naive at times at the way they were approaching things, but this showed that when the chips are down and when there's someone a bit closer to their level, they can pull out a result.
Yeah, I mean, 3 points is massive. Sometimes you're looking at 9 to 12 points being the total that can keep you safe in this league when it comes to the bottom half of the table. Like we've spoken about the discrepancy between the top and the bottom, and it is massive. And we spoke about the challenges of a team coming up like Crystal Palace, and to early doors defeat one of the potential relegation rivals. That's huge for them. It's absolutely huge, especially when you look at the first couple of games. Obviously the Chelsea thrashing, us from the outside are thinking, oh God, is it going to be just an absolute mauling all season for them? How do they pick themselves up from that? And sometimes all it takes is a goal, and they had a brilliant team goal. And you'd have to say, even I didn't follow them too closely when they were in the Championship, but even getting someone like Stengel back, who, you know, she's played WSL, she's played in America, you know, she can produce something, and even something as small as that little back heel to set up Blanchard, like that's the difference. And it's really, really fine margins, and we're bigging up Everton here. You know, they got a result against Arsenal, but it's only a draw. It's only a point at the end of the day, and Crystal Palace now, after 3 games, have 3 points. I think if you offered them that at the start of the season, they say, yeah, amazing. Particularly, like, when you look at the significance now of the teams who are below them.
Yeah, and also when you look at the team they started out against being Chelsea, you know, I doubt, I mean, maybe they thought they could go in and potentially park the bus, get a draw or something, but I'd say they always went into that game knowing that it was going to be unlikely enough. Jamie, you would have good experience of both these sides, and also what it's like to be in that situation where you are looking to get any possible points on the board against those lower teams and avoiding that relegation at the end of year. What's your take on this?
Yeah, being in that relegation battle is fairly difficult, and you need to pick up points wherever you can. I think both teams would have looked at this game thinking that both could take 3 points. Leicester, similar could be in that relegation battle come the end of the season. And like Karen said, the difference between a point and 3 points in that situation is huge. Like, so Palace will have gained so much confidence from that 3 points and scoring 2 goals as well. Because when you're in that relegation battle, sometimes the fixtures come and you play the top teams, and you just feel like you're defending every single game. You're in a block, and it can be difficult to get confidence anywhere. You have confidence when you maybe break out and attack, but there's no shot on goal, you know. So for Palace to score 2, get 3 points, it's a real confidence booster in that relegation battle. That's fairly difficult.
And looking at these two sides and in the way that you know them, Jamie, you know, is this going to be, I know we have Everton in there as well, but like, is this going to be a toe-to-toe? Is there something that you see in one of them that you think that maybe they can do a little bit more, kind of do what Leicester did essentially when they came up into the league and get themselves into a place where they're relatively safe and it's someone else battling out at the bottom?
Yeah, like I do think like these teams need to be smart in when they're playing certain teams. Like I think I've been impressed with Palace. Like obviously the game just gone, they had some good moments on the ball, and if they can translate that into when they're defending against big teams and transition to attack, like it's that split moment that you might only get one chance in that game against the top teams to score a goal and nick a point. So yeah, I think I was impressed with Palace's performance, and obviously I know them from the Championship as well, and they do like to play a little bit, but I think they wouldn't be naive enough to play against the top teams that often. But again, Leicester, they'll be in and around it as well, and yeah, it's such a difficult task to stay in the WSL. Obviously Palace got promoted, and to get promoted and to stay that next year is very difficult. You see some teams get promoted and then go straight back down, it's unfortunate because the gap is still there, the Championship and the WSL. But yeah, it's a difficult relegation battle, definitely.
Mm. We had some fun games at the weekend as well. We had that Brighton 4-2 against Aston Villa, and then also Tottenham losing 3-2 to Spurs, or losing 2-3 at home to Liverpool. Anything stick out for you, Karen, between those two? I mean, Liverpool, Tottenham's quite interesting considering we've been relatively impressed with Spurs and thought that Liverpool haven't really kicked on.
Well, it was just that we were like, oh, Liverpool not holding on to their leads was cause for concern. And again, we were a little bit like, oh God, is it happening again? Especially when they scored 2 own goals. I'd say Matt Beard aged about 5 years in the space of those 90 minutes. But it was great to see Liverpool holding on to that league lead because, you know, they did bring a lot of joy to watch last season. We're hoping that they could kick on this season, and it was a lot of people were asking the question, would they contest into the top 3 and stuff? I don't think that they're there, but I think they were unlucky with the first own goal. I think the keeper needs to call Taylor Hines there and be very dominant. Look, it all happens in a split second. You know, as a defender, you put that in, it's the worst feeling in the world. But yeah, it's all split second stuff. The Herbinger free kick was incredible. We spoke about Alex Kavanagh's free kick. This one was up there as well with that. I, on the defender's side, would have queries over whether it was a free.
Okay.
But look, I guess you make your own luck. And Liverpool, having had a couple of disappointing results to not throw in the towel when Spurs had pegged them back, it's really, really positive for them. And then in terms of the other game, it was a bit mad as well, with the red cards and all that carry on the Brighton.
Yeah, it was a bit mad. Jamie, what was your takeaway from that? I mean, so I'm always a fan of a game that has quite a few goals, as long as Arsenal, well, I mean, maybe I should be more fans of Arsenal having a few more goals in their games if they're scoring them, but it was one of the madder games that we've seen so far between two teams that, you know, we've always said that we thought Brighton should have performed better considering some of the resources they had at their disposal, some of the players that they had in that squad. And then Villa last season, everyone thought was going to
perform. The Liverpool of the season before.
There's always one. And they didn't exactly live up to expectations either. So I was actually really interested going into this game to see who was going to come out on top.
Yeah, just to come back to Liverpool, finally got 3 points. Yeah, really good to see. But also they just announced a couple of hours ago that there was an ACL at Lundegard, is that how you pronounce her name? So she done her ACL as well, and like that's been won every weekend now. What, we 3 weekends in? Like that's
We didn't even
crazy.
mention that with Everton. They've lost 2 very key players already, so that adds to their woes.
Jamie, how do you feel about that, watching it as someone who's going through the rehab process at the moment, and the fact, I know it's always been super prevalent, but 1 per weekend is more than we've come across, I think, in previous seasons.
Yeah, like to even say that out loud is just, it's madness. And I think now, because I'm going through it, like you actually feel like you've done it all over again when you hear of someone else doing it, because you know what's ahead of them, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's genuinely heartbreaking to see that many people doing it, and 1 every weekend since we've begun it's not really a good position to be in at all.
Do you find it affects your own mentality or mental health when you're going through that rehab and you see that happening? You know, you said there that you feel like you've done it all over again. That's a really hard thing to go through every weekend for the last 3 weeks.
It's just a sense of, oh my God, like it's because I know what's ahead of that player, if that makes sense. And like, I know what you have to go through, and I'm only 6, nearly 7 months in. I've still more to go myself. Like, so to have that feeling when someone does it, it's really difficult. But now I'm 6, 7 months on, it's obviously a better place I'm in now. Obviously, I'm back running and stuff. So you can see that now. But when you do it, it's really difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's there. It's definitely there.
I know I even saw Jess had a picture up of her leg a couple of weeks post-op, and having discussed it with you and various other players about the different stages and how you feel at the different stages, I can't imagine what it's like to have that first moment when you do it, and knowing all the discourse that there is around it and people constantly talking about it and constantly saying, we need to sort this out, like this is a major problem, but yet here we are, and we're still seeing it happening week in, week out, and we're no closer to knowing what to actually do about it. I don't know, Jamie, have you had conversations with people that are looking into it and talking about what could be done or what potentially?
Like, yeah, like for me, it's obviously people throw the word research out, and research is going to take time. Like, it's not a thing where it's going to be done in a couple of weeks. Like, you're talking probably 1 or 2 years to get everything together. But I think for me, it's about players coming out if they want to. But like for me, I would like to come out and speak about my experience with the whole thing, like pre ACL, like how I felt the day before, how I felt the morning of, and I wore my Whoop, the Whoop watch, and actually went back and had a look at that and seeing how it was and how did I sleep, etc. Like comparing stories with other people, like I've said before, like everyone's journey is not going to be the same, but in saying that, there are some similarities along the way as well. So if I could give one advice, you speak to people about it and see how they're dealing with things, and if you can take stuff off them, and yeah, just kind of speaking up about it. But no, definitely something needs to be done, because it's not, you're not looking at a month or 2 out, you're looking at close to a year, and that's for a career so short. It's not great.
No, it is a long time, and I think you're totally right about the speaking about it thing as well, because as you've talked about, and other players, it can get lonely when you're doing it by yourself or you're not in with a team. So making sure that you have those people around you that you can discuss it, or people that can just relate. And very sadly, there are far too many people that can relate in this situation, having gone through it on the women's side in particular. So in terms of the football then, Brighton, Jamie, do you think this is their season? Like, are they going to do, as Karen said, a Liverpool run? You obviously watched Liverpool quite closely last year and you saw the success that they have. Are they going to be that team that maybe this year it's Liverpool, Brighton and United that are kind of going up against each other?
Yeah, potentially. Like, you can see where you could see that from. Like, they have obviously had such a good start to the season. I think with Brighton, it's obviously a case of how do we maintain this with the players we have, keeping everyone fit and healthy. And yeah, just going for it game by game. I think the WSL is a league where you can't really get carried away with yourself. Yeah, they've had a great start, but like I said, it's maintaining it and yeah, getting the points where you know you should against the Leicesters, Everton. That's where it comes in. That's where you finish 4th or 5th. You know what I mean? So yeah, they have the potential to do it with the signings they made this summer as well.
Definitely. Finally, we have City. Is there anything really to say? They have strength and depth. They're doing great. Actually, in a positive ACL story, you saw Jill Roord come back this weekend, which was really great from a City perspective and obviously from an injury perspective as well. But Karen, you mentioned it earlier, 5 changes I think it was made to the starting lineup and didn't take too much of a fizz out of them.
No, it's a nice position to be in when you can still look to the likes of Mary Fowler and Jill Roord and the likes. I mean, they've got some really exciting players, and I saw them line out, and I was like, oh, there's Chloe Kelly. I haven't seen her for a while, and to be able to say that, like, it's she's just top quality. You spoke about like players not making the England squad and Chloe Kelly not starting seems unimaginable given the talent that she has. But such is the depth that Man City now have. And like I said, in previous seasons, they hadn't clicked at the start of the season. Maybe there was too much turnover. Didn't bring in too many players, obviously Miedema being kind of the statement signing. And they've hit the ground running. Look, we can talk about the West Ham goal. It wasn't offside. Does that change the complexity of the game? Yes, maybe. I still think that when they needed to freshen things up and being able to bring on a Bunny Shaw who created the goal, I think they could have gone through the gears if they wanted. I think some of the under pressure, if some of those chances Larnham puts away as well. So I think it was pretty comfortable for Man City. That was my kind of takeaway from it.
No, that was definitely my takeaway as well. And as you say, when you are being put under that bit of pressure, the fact that you do have the opportunity to bring on your better players, as you said, it's not a bad place to be in, and what I wish more of my teams were more often. Right, we're all out of time here, unfortunately, but a very enjoyable chat to you both. Jamie, best of luck as always with all the recovery, and Karen, thank you for joining us in studio. Very nice for like the 3rd time ever that we've been doing this podcast. I've actually seen your face. The COYGIG Pod on Off the Ball is brought to you by Cadbury, official snack partner to the Republic of Ireland women's national team. As always, you can get us at the COYGIG Pod on X/Twitter if you have anything that you ever want to talk to us about. And yeah, please always do get your questions, queries, thoughts into us because it helps fuel our discussions. Final congratulations to Athlone, very well-deserved champions. Always great to see a bit of a change up in the league here from a neutral's perspective, not from anyone in the room right here. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you all again very, very soon.
The COYGIG Pod on Off the Ball in association with Cadbury, official snack partner of the Republic of Ireland women's national team.